Hi everyone. This will be our last video for this course for the fall semester. I have finished grading all of your infant plans on Moodle, and we'll be grading them on Chalk and Wire shortly. Although I got these done certainly well within the time that we are typically given of getting them scored, it takes a lot longer with some things. So I've been working hard to get them done, and we'll work real hard on getting the Chalk and Wire done as well. So for week 12, we're going to be talking about anti-bias. For anti-bias, there is a forum. Looks like several people have already started posting on it, where you explain an example of incorporating anti-bias curriculum into the classroom. The initial post is due Tuesday night with the response on Thursday. As always, please make sure that you keep the foreign rubric very close by as you're working. You'll be, of course, watching the anti-bias PowerPoint, and your other activity in addition to the forum will be writing a reading response about anti-bias curriculum and culturally responsive teaching. You'll be using the reading response rubric and remembering to use at least 2 resources. So you're going to be talking both about anti-bias and culturally responsive teaching. If you would devote one subsection to each of those things, and the final subsection to things that they have in common, and comparing and contrasting them, basically. Looking at week 13, you'll be watching the unit development PowerPoint, and then you will be completing the mini lesson, which is due on Tuesday of next week. You'll be using the support unit for the form you're going to need. And this is termed a mini unit, but you'll be expected to summarize the topics of the course and apply them to this particular unit. Go back and take a quick look at the support folder for the mini unit. Basically, you're going to be filling out this form. It's kind of like an abbreviated type of lesson plan. And these are the kinds of things that are in the context for learning and the typical MVNU lesson plan, and also part of Resident Educator, which you'll be working on during your first provisionary license as a teacher. You see that each thing that you have to do here is associated with a point. Here's a curriculum table where you have to design an activity, a balance of activity styles like paper, pencil, research, project-based, individual, and so on. You have a list of 10 of these. You'll have a list of 10. This should say 1 point each. I'm not sure what happened there, but it's pretty easy to tell that these, if you have a total of 10 points, it's 1 per activity, and 1 per standard. You have to have a standard, at least 1 standard listed there. This is an old form. This needs to be updated. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and get that done today. And because it's now the Ohio State content standards, the Common Core are no longer used in Ohio for any of the subjects. So after you get all of those listed, the activities you were going to be doing as part of this mini unit and the standard that they relate to, I'm going to ask you then to list 1 to 3 academic standards, and then answer the question, what are the main things or focus that I want my students to know at the end of this unit? So basically, you're choosing the basic content or the basic 1 to 3 of these activities that follow a standard or standards and listing those there along with your main focus or what you want students to know. Here's your mini unit calendar. You're just basically describing the part of day when you're going to be studying your theme. For example, in day 1, you might be doing a math activity, and you would say that it's day 1 and I'm doing it during my math block, and so on. Then you're going to be looking at vocabulary. You're going to list 5 vocabulary words for use in the unit, and then you are going to define those vocabulary words. Here are the key questions for the entire unit. Write 3 critical questions and identify the type of question it is based on Bloom's taxonomy. 1 point each for a total of 3 points. And finally, you're going to draw and label a floor plan to support your unit and the development of your students. 5 for the drawing, 5 for labeling, with a total of 10 points. And then you're going to do a mini unit self-evaluation. You're going to use the guidelines to mark the statements as yes or no, and on the next page, you'll write a narrative explaining what is DAP and what is in contrast. You're going to discuss the changes you would make for improvement. There's 10 points for completing this self-evaluation. So here are the questions that you need to answer. And then here is the DAP portion where you have to explain how your unit is developmentally appropriate in the areas outlined in those 5 guidelines of DAP. So you're going to need to list each of the guidelines, and then you're going to say how your unit is developmentally appropriate based on each of them. And then you would make the following changes that you might need to make or think it's necessary to make. So those are the portions that you are going to be taking care of. And again, I'm going to update those with a couple of things that have changed, for example, for the standards. So I will get back and get that taken care of today. So then we're going to look at week 13. Week 13 is the unit development of the PowerPoint. Excuse me, I just went over week 13 with you. Week 14. We're going to be looking at a video about measurable objectives. Measurable objectives are extremely important, and they tend to be something that take a little time to get used to writing. And that video you will find extremely helpful. And you're going to be looking then at the mini unit lesson plan. So you're going to take your mini unit that you just did for week 13. And instead of having an exam, you're going to choose one activity from the mini unit and complete a lesson plan. You're going to use the MVNU lesson plan and rubric, which are available on the Moodle section. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, it's really important that your objective is written as measurable. For example, students will be able to answer questions about story details with 90% accuracy. Make sure you watch the video, and you'll be submitting that here. That mini unit lesson plan is due Thursday, and you will be doing it, as I said, on the MVNU lesson plan template, which I have attached here in Moodle. This lesson plan should be nothing, template should be nothing new to you. And here's the lesson plan rubric. As always, I highly suggest you read it very carefully, keep it with you as you're doing your plan, and focus on the exemplary section, because obviously that's what everybody wants to have, is the exemplary section. This lesson plan is worth 120 points. On week 14, the end of the course survey will also become available to you. I highly encourage you to do that. It's been great to have all of you in this class. I know for many of you, it's been your first experience with online courses, and I hope that it's been a positive one for you. You've all been amazingly good about keeping in touch. It's a different feel than a face-to-face traditional course, but I've taught this course both ways, and I think that there are great benefits from doing it either way. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, and I will communicate with you as necessary to make sure we're all on the same page with things for the remainder of the course. I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your day.